Hey, Dr. Jon Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. To help you finish this year strongly and get ready for a successful 2024, we're re-releasing every podcast we've recorded so far that takes a deep dive into the Habit Mechanic book. The episode's coming up in a few moments. Remember, if you want to get your business off to a great start in January, get in touch to discuss how our Habit Mechanic keynotes or workshops can equip your people with practical skills that help them build super habits in 5 minutes. Or if you want to earn £100,000 per year working part-time by launching your own coaching business, we guarantee to help you do that in just 13 hours. Get in touch with us today to learn more about becoming a certified habit mechanic coach who can transform people's lives and is recognized as a world leader in the field. For more details, contact us via the website. The link is in the podcast notes. Or, if you want to feel better and do better every day, download the Habit Mechanic University app from your app store. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Habit Mechanics. It's Dr. Jon Finn here. I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. In this episode, we're going to talk about chapter 12 of the Habit Mechanic book, which is called How to Start Me Power Conditioning. We've got some really practical insights that are really going to help you to think about your destructive habits and also your super habits. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. I'm also joined today by my friend and colleague, Andrew Whitelam. Andrew, how are you?
Hi, John. Yeah, great to be here again on the podcast. And it's an unusual one today, I guess, because we're going to actually replay the audiobook version of chapter 12 in full within this podcast. I know we've been doing that on the shorter podcasts in recent times, but for this one, we're going to listen to the entire chapter 2, which is great. I think it will really bring it to life even more for people. So I'm looking forward to hearing that and hearing more about the details of me power conditioning, which for me is really the first major idea or concept that the habit mechanic introduces that's so revolutionary. So really looking forward to that. And just talking briefly before we do that about the habit mechanic app, I know in recent podcasts we've been flagging that people signing up for that have really been it's been going well. More and more people are signing up for the free version, but there's some big news coming soon. New features are going to be rolled out in the habit mechanic app which will make it even more powerful.
Yeah, so we've been working on lots of behavioral science-backed, habit science-backed tools, training, coaching, courses, all those things that are going to make it super easy for people to build better habits. And we're making those available in the app pretty soon. I would say that within the next month, they will be available. So into mid-July, we're going to launch it, and we're putting a 90-day program together at the moment, which will be the backbone of that new supercharged toolkit. So the people that are signed up in the free version of the app, and the app is completely free to download and to start using right now. It's in the App Store, it's in the Google Play Store. The people that are in the app are going to get some special offers when we launch that program. They're going to be able to access those features before anybody else, and also take advantage of lots of other exciting opportunities that we're using, that we're going to make available, rather, to ultimately make it easier for people to be at their best, because that's our mission, and you can be part of that journey as well. So if you haven't already downloaded the app, please do, and then we'll be able to give you access to those special offers when they come online.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I think anybody who hasn't already done so, as you say, they should absolutely download the Habit Mechanic University app and start using it. There's some great features in there already, but it's so exciting to hear that, yeah, there's even more coming. And I suppose, John, this really will be all the insight, all the tools from the Habit Mechanic in your pocket.
Yeah, so it's a habit coach in your pocket, and the book is a fantastic resource. But when you plug in the power of digital functionality, it makes it easier to activate more of the 9 action factors, which are at the heart of how we help people to build better habits so they can be at their best. So, from live training sessions, life challenges, ongoing 90-day challenges, making the tools in the Habit Mechanic book digital so you can actually input your data, see your progress, easily update, tweak, and refine, easily access key insights from the book in bite-sized formats, and so on and so forth. So just making it easier for people to go on that journey, to engage in the knowledge, to practice the skills, and ultimately to form long-lasting, powerful new habits that help them to be at their best. And not just yourself, but I think the app makes it really easy to help others to be at their best as well, whether you're a coach, or you're an organization. So yeah, really, really powerful. It's taken us a long time to put together, and I've been using it, and it's already sharpening up my ability to manage my own behavior, which I thought was already in pretty good nick, but it's taking it, feels like, to another level.
Okay, great. Well, so chapter 12 then, how to start me power conditioning. John, lead us into it if you would. We're going to hear about an important tool that you introduce in this chapter, specifically the 8-brain test. And as I say, we're playing this one in full. Lead us into it if you would, John.
Yeah, so I'd really encourage you to make some notes in this chapter, because it's at its heart, it's about intelligent self-watching. And if you make notes, you're going to get more out of it. Try to highlight the area where you want to make the biggest improvement, and then follow the guidance as to where you can learn more about that area within the rest of the Habit Mechanic book. So this is chapter 12, how to start me power conditioning.
Chapter 12, how to start me power conditioning. To start identifying some of your unhelpful habits, I want you to do some intelligent self-watching. This simply means thinking about yourself in a focused and systematic way, so that you can precisely identify your unhelpful behaviour. This can be difficult to do because you are designed to run on habits. Self-watching is like switching on a CCTV camera that monitors your thoughts and actions. To help you do this, I have created a short 8-brain test. There are no right or wrong answers. This is just about what you think about yourself right now. The more you practice self-watching exercises like the 8-brain test, the better you will become at understanding yourself. I complete this type of test about once a month to help me stay on top of my 8-brain. The more I practice intelligent self-watching, the better I get. You could complete the test either from your own point of view or on behalf of a person you want to help. Score each statement from 1 to 10, where 1 equals never and 10 equals always. Please note that it doesn't matter what your scores are. The important thing is that you are thinking about yourself and identifying your strengths and areas for improvement. Don't overthink your scores. Just go with your gut instinct. The more you practice intelligent self-watching, the better you will get at it. To complete the 8-brain test online, go to tougherminds.co.uk/habit mechanic and click on 8-brain test. I will also read out each statement now. Statement 1. I reflect on my diet, exercise and sleep and plan to make daily improvements in these areas. Give yourself a score out of 10, where 1 equals never and 10 equals always. Statement 2. At the end of the day, I always reflect and highlight what went well and what I can improve tomorrow. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 3. At the end of every week, I reflect on what went well and plan how I can improve next week. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 4. From time to time, I think about my future. I set long, medium and short-term goals to focus my efforts and achieve major objectives. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 5. I regularly update my yearly and monthly calendar to add important work and life activities. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 6. I recognise when I'm stressed and successfully plan to reduce my stress. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 7. I monitor my confidence levels and successfully build up confidence in areas where it is low. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 8. I recognise when my emotions are unhelpful and can successfully keep them under control. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 9. I successfully plan to improve my productivity levels. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 10. I successfully plan to spend less time dwelling on unhelpful thoughts. Give yourself a score out of 10. Statement 11. I successfully plan to improve my performance as a leader. Give yourself a score out of 10. What next? First, select the area you think it will be most helpful to make a small adjustment to today to help you be your best. Second, write down one small thing you will do differently to improve this area. Tip: writing "be less stressed" is too vague to be helpful. Instead, be specific. For example, write a 3-to-1 daily reflection at the end of the working day. Finally, explain why. For example, it will make it easier to de-stress, switch off, sleep well, and be at my best tomorrow. Don't worry if you are not sure how to improve the area you have selected, because I am going to cover all of the core 8 brain test themes throughout the remainder of the book. Although this book has been written to be worked through sequentially, you can jump ahead to get some improvement ideas if you promise to come back to this point in the book and continue listening. I have listed where you can learn more about each core 8 brain test area below. I want to improve my sleep and/or diet and/or exercise. Go to chapter 19. I want to improve my long, medium, and short-term goal setting. Go to chapter 16. I want to get better at managing stress and thinking more helpfully. Go to chapter 22. I want to improve my confidence. Go to chapter 23. I want to get better at performing under pressure. Go to chapter 24. I want to improve my focus and productivity. Go to chapter 25. I want to improve my leadership. Go to step 4, Chief Habit Mechanic Skills. If you do jump ahead, remember that the key to habit mechanic success is learning how to build sustainable new habits. Knowing what you need to do is very different from doing it. For the remainder of this section of the book, step 2, and the beginning of the next, step 3, I'm going to really get under the hood or bonnet of what it takes to develop more new, sustainable, helpful habits. But first, I want to finish this chapter by introducing a concept called the Me Power Wish List. By taking the 8 brain test, you will have identified the most significant challenge or challenges or problem or problems your 8 brain poses in your life right now. If you complete it again next month, the scores might be different because your life circumstances and habits might be a little bit different. You may now want to begin creating your Me Power wish list. This is a list of all the small, new helpful habits you would like to build and changes you would like to make based on your 8 brain test results. your Me Power wish list. Create your list where it is most helpful for you. For example, a notebook, Word file, phone note. Please remember it's only realistically possible to make one tiny change or build one tiny new habit at a time. This is a wish list for a reason. Nobody has the resources to make all the changes they want at once. I have a list of daily, weekly and monthly habits I developed over many years that started on my Me Power wish list and are now cables in my brain. Remember, knowing, knowledge, to doing, skill, to habit. Example, Me Power wish list. Daily, 6:30 a.m. run. If this sounds too difficult, you could go for a 5-minute walk instead. Core exercises, 40 push-ups and 40 sit-ups. If this sounds too difficult, you could start with 1 push-up. Stretch. Post my daily tea plan in my Habit Mechanic app. Willpower boosters, for example, 1 fewer check of my phone, apps off my phone off, no news during the week, no emails at night. Learn more in chapter 25. Drink 2 litres of water per day. Aim for approximately 8 miles of running and or walking per day. End of day positive reflection / expressive writing. Learn more in chapter 22. Complete my Me Power weekly wall chart goals for the day. Learn more in chapter 18. Weekly, structured weekly reflection. Learn more in chapter 36. Plan week ahead using brain states method. Learn more in chapter 25. Create my Me Power weekly wall chart. Learn more in chapter 18. Monthly, habit review. Learn more in chapter 17. Future ambitious meaningful story review. Learn more in chapter 16. Team Power leadership review. Learn more in step 4. Next, let's think about what happened in your brain as you were completing the APE brain test.
Well, that was chapter 12, How to Start Me Power Conditioning, played in full for you here on the Habit Mechanic podcast. And in a few moments, John, we're going to talk about that in detail, drill down into the idea of intelligent self-watching and why can't we see our unhelpful behavior. We're also going to talk in detail about a very important tool you introduced in the chapter, the 8 brain test, and some of the potential shocking results it might reveal for people, and then talk about how one tiny step at a time we can start improving. Before we do that, though, just a word about your certified habit mechanic coaching program. I understand now all places on that have been taken.
Yeah, so we've sold out. No space available, unfortunately, which is really exciting. People are actually starting to qualify now, and that's also opening up lots of exciting opportunities. We know traditional coaching doesn't work. It's not fit for purpose. It's not designed to change people's behaviour. And that means that we might be able to help people to know what it's a better idea to do, but it doesn't help them to do it in a sustainable, long-lasting, impactful way. What we help certified habit mechanic coaches to do is to understand how they can actually help their clients, their people, their teams, their organisation to build and sustain more helpful habits. So yeah, we've sold out, which is fantastic. Brilliant group of people working on that program at the moment and starting to help others to become habit mechanics. We will release some more slots later in the year. So if you are interested, if you do want to take advantage of this, and I suppose there's twofold thing here. One is if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, we help you to create a 90-day bespoke 90-day program for your clients. And we know that coaches, consultants can easily earn over £100,000 a year selling these services. So this is not only great for helping others to actually be at their best, but you can have a really nice lifestyle off this as well. get away from that 9 to 5, have really flexible work that will make it work for you. If you're an organization, we see that when we actually help our people to build better habits, that we quickly improve engagement, happiness, and performance by over 25% in 90 days. I'll explain exactly how we measure that if you want to know. But straight away, that means that your organisation is saving hundreds of thousands up to millions of pounds very quickly, because people just get rid of those destructive lines, and that adds up to people thinking and doing more things that are helping them to be at their best. So that's the power of habits. So if learning to become a certified habit mechanic coach sounds interesting to you, just get in touch. We'll send you more details. We can add you to our waiting list, and then when places become available, we can let you know.
Okay, well, that's certainly great news for people who've missed out this time. And yeah, as you say, Jon, they should certainly try to get themselves on that waiting list for when you do reopen that certification. Great to hear. Okay, then, Jon, on with chapter 12. Unusually, we've just heard it in full, but that's great for this podcast. How to start me power conditioning, and the chapter starts by explaining and pointing out that it's now important, as we continue our journey through the habit mechanic and gain more insight, to start identifying unhelpful habits, as it says, unhelpful to us. And the key tool here, the key process, is what you call intelligent self-watching. Again, you talk about that being a focused, considered way of doing that. Why is that so important? Why is it important that it's a deliberate, specific process? Why can't we just see and just notice, the things we're doing that are not helpful to us and are bad for us, I suppose?
Because most of what we're doing most of the time is automatic, semi-automatic thinking and doing. And therefore, if we want to move out of the automaticity, we have to do that deliberately. And because we're just not really wired to think about ourselves in these ways, then just noticing our behaviour might not be all that helpful. We have to do it in a focused and educated way about, well, this is how brains work at a gist level, and that's the chapters we've gone through so far. So I can understand that my 8 brain is beating me up because it's paying attention to the fact that I think that important people in my life might not be regarding me so highly right now. I know that my 8 brain is making me procrastinate on challenging work because the challenging work isn't giving me a fast reward. So that's where we don't just say self-watching, we say intelligent self-watching. And in fact, throughout the whole, in chapter 5, we introduce the concept of habit mechanic intelligence. And throughout the book, we show the igloo of confidence that we also introduce in chapter 5, building up one small step at a time as you work through the book and you develop your ideas. The first core component of habit mechanic intelligence is intelligent self-watching. It's that awareness of the things that I'm thinking and doing and how helpful they are or not in relation to the goals I have in my life, my health, my happiness, my performance goals that help me to be at my best or not. But the gateway to understanding that is intelligent self-watching. So it's so important. There's a brain maturation element here as well. So the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain, and we actually go into quite a lot of detail about the very specific mechanics of brain function in the next chapter. But the prefrontal cortex sits behind your eyes all the way to the top of your forehead. This is where willpower lives. It's the hack brain that we talked about in the last chapter, helpful attention control brain. Some would call it our logical brain. It's the part of our brain that we use to do intelligent self-watching. It's like the brakes on our automated behavior. That's the function this can have. But it's not fully wired until we're about 25 years old, if we're men. And if we're women, it's about 24 years old, because the female brain myelinates about 1 year ahead of the male brain. When I say myelination, I just mean wiring up. So your brain runs on electricity, is a simple way to think about it. And the wires, your brain is kind of wiring up from the back to the front. So the first wiring starts at the back of the brain in those deep essential centers that run our basic life function. And then as we're maturing, as we're getting older, more and more of that neocortex is getting wired up. And the last bit to fully wire up is our prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of our brain that we use for intelligent self-watching, what we might call good self-awareness. So up until we're about, well, mid-20s, the hardware that we use to do intelligent self-watching isn't actually fully wired up. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't speed up the wiring, and it doesn't mean that we don't have any self-awareness before that point. It's just that in our mid-20s, we've got the full hardware. And what we see, for example, through a few different, I suppose, sets of data, sets of understanding, is that by the time you get to about 8 or 9, you have maybe a bit older, a bit earlier for girls, you have that understanding of what's right and what's wrong, and you have the ability to intercede and be held accountable for your behaviour. We see that in our programs. So when we make it easy for young people to do intelligent self-watching using our planners and using these types of self-assessments and tools that we share in the Habit Mechanic book, then we see that young people get better at doing intelligent self-watching and intelligent planning. If you think from a religion perspective, in the Catholic Church, you do your first confession, I think, when you're about 8 years old, connected to your first Holy Communion, and that's a similar idea. You're being held accountable for your own behaviour. So there's a brain maturation element here, which is really interesting as well. But anyway, that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of intelligent self-watching and the connected brain function.
Yeah, no, but I think it's so fascinating how, and this is, I suppose, the essence of Habit Mechanic, that the sophisticated understanding of the brain and how it drives human behavior is harnessed and made simple and applicable for people. And I guess many people might, who are perhaps parents or know young people, might recognize some of the changes in attitude or behavior because of that brain maturation. They're growing up, I suppose, in simple terms, and it is fascinating. But of course, this now, the brain state, the consequences of this, if you like, are now what we're talking about, to harness and understand, so we can improve and identify our unhelpful habits, and of course start developing new helpful habits. So part of this chapter then, to undertake intelligent self-watching, you introduce this really significant tool, which I know has been on the Tougher Minds website for a few years now, so people can get an introduction to it, and it's also a fantastic resource. This is the APE brain test, really important tool, and gives us so much insight. Tell us more about that APE brain test, Jon, please.
Yeah, so we've designed the 8-brain test and similar, what we call habit metrics, to make intelligent self-watching easier, to give people a framework to assess themselves against. And these are themes. There's 11 questions or statements in the 8-brain test. These are themes that we see, that we saw emerging again and again and again with the thousands and thousands of people that we worked with, that these seem to be the most important things that people wanted to manage they get more control over in order to be at their best or to feel like they were being at their best. So that's what it's designed to do. And I think that another part of why we design these subjective, I'd say self-determining assessments were because we just wanted to also give people a really quick way of analysing themselves. And I suppose there are two things that are going on when you complete this self-assessment. One is you're actually learning about yourself, because you don't typically, the questions that you heard in chapter, in the audio of chapter 12, they're not things that we normally think about. We might think about the odd one, but we don't think about them regularly. So it helps us to learn about ourselves and think about ourselves in a different way. But then it also allows us to assign a score and to make a judgment about where we think we're at. So the roots of this approach were in a tool that I used a lot in sports psychology. It's called performance profiling. I forget the name of the guy that brought that into sport, and I forget the name of the theory that underpins it. But it's a very self-determining tool that you can use to just start to analyze your behavior in a really self-determining way. And in chapter, I suppose in the confidence chapter of the book 20, chapter 23, and also the cultural architect chapter of the book, chapter 32, I use kind of some similar versions of that performance profiling tool. That approach I found was far more powerful than psychometrics. Psychometrics are self-determining. They suggest that they can predict your behavior, that they know something about you, that they somehow have an insight into your soul, into your destiny, and into your future. And we just know that's just not true. And although I would say if psychometrics have any benefits, it's just it gets you thinking about yourself. But it gets you thinking about yourself in sort of a smoke and mirrors way, and a little bit of a potentially threatening way, because you don't really know what the questions are that you're being asked. And then you get this interpretation that's supposed to be predictive somehow of your future behavior, which isn't very helpful. So we know that if we want to be at our best in this challenging world, we have to develop that growth mindset, as Carol Dweck would call it. We call it the habit mechanic mindset. Psychometrics, I would argue, move you in the opposite direction. They move you to more of an ape brain mindset or a fixed mindset, which is really unhelpful for being at your best in the post-pandemic VUCA world. So, and also those psychometrics, they take time because you have to complete it. Someone has to analyze the data and then da-di-da-di-da. I also found that if I have an hour to help someone to be at their best, I don't want to spend the hour doing a psychometric profile. I'd rather spend the time actually helping them. And you can get a good gist of where people think they're at by just asking, well, out of 10, give me a score. And these are some of the Likert scales that we see, that stuff I'd see a lot in physiology. So, in physiology, you have a lot of very precise biological measurements, but you also have some quite subjective measurements as well, like how hard are you working out of 10, So I think there's a combination of things that underpin the structure of the 8-brain test and the habit metric tools. I'm just trying to piece together there where some of these things come from. When you put things together over such a long period of time, I suppose not every influence can be consciously brought back, because we know how unconscious and subconscious we are. So in short, there's a lot of influence behind this very simple assessment. And the version you just heard that you see in chapter 12, as simple as it is, it's thousands of iterations to get it to that point.
Yeah, I've, as someone who's done the the 8-brain test a few times and been, I'm going to say, subjected to a psychometric testing of various kinds for job interviews and other bits and pieces. Yeah, it's completely different. And as you say, the psychometric tests are a little bit arcane and a little bit sort of esoteric. And you think, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm just making this up, but it might be something along the lines of, you see a dog, is the dog a dangerous one? I don't know. It's these questions you can't quite put your finger on. Whereas the 8-brain test gets straight to the point. It's very practical, but so insightful and so powerful. And yeah, absolutely, it's so useful in and of itself for me, Jon. I was going to go on to say people might complete the 8-brain test and be slightly worried or shocked by some of their results. The way they've rated themselves, it might paint quite a bleak picture, but obviously then you lead them on to start taking action, and taking the 8-brain test is the first step in a journey towards improvement. And in chapter 12, you talk about developing a wish list of new helpful habits. Specifically, you call it a Me Power wish list, and you share your own in the chapter as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we can make positive change, but it's only one tiny change at a time. So we talked about the mindset factor. That's one of the 9 action factors. Another one is the tiny factor. So it's good to recognize the areas that you'd like to work on, but we also need to be practical and understand that we can only make one tiny change at a time. So it's a wish list. These are the things I'd like to improve. If we have that list as well, then it's easier to see the progress we're making. And that's why, the app, for example, the new features are so powerful, because it's easy to see the progress that you're making. So, yeah, it's normal to see lots of areas you'd like to improve. Often, lots of those areas are interconnected. So improving one will have positive knock-on effects for others. And also, these are evergreen intelligent self-watching and intelligent planning tools. So they're never designed to be used once. And you'll find the more you use these self-assessments, the better a judge you will be of your own behaviour. So I suppose the first time you answer these questions, you might be quite extreme in your views. Some may be extremely hard on themselves. Some may be overly confident about how well they're doing in these different areas. And that's why it's important to keep revisiting and keep revising. Yeah, and I share, my wish list and the things that I work on. And all those examples are, connected to the things that I do. I go on in later chapters to show what I call super habits and how that transfers into super habits.
So
yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry, Jon. I was just going to say, so people should just get into their head the idea that this is not just a one-off. That it's not, although the 8-brain test is one of the first tools we see. You'll do it again and again, and there's benefit in that to repeat that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just all the tools in the Habit Mechanic book are built into daily, weekly, monthly, or even bi-monthly or quarterly. So the 8-brain test and some of the more in-depth habit assessment tests, they're kind of monthly, bi-monthly self-assessments. And it's so important that we keep going back and checking in with ourselves.
Yeah, and just again, when people do that and they have a list that is perhaps shocking to them, disturbing, perturbing, that they think they see so much they need to correct or improve on, if you like, it's important then, as you said before, to keep in mind just one tiny change. Why is that so pivotal? Just the idea of just incremental progress rather than trying to make huge leaps.
Because our brain is designed to save energy. So it likes doing easy things that don't cost a lot of energy, and conscious thinking takes a lot of energy. So I'd say the default rule with making a successful change. So let's say I've set myself a goal. I want to do 50 press ups every day, and it's not working. I did 50 at the start on Monday, but now it's Friday and I haven't done any since. The key thing to do is to make it easier. So instead of doing 50, just start with one. So I'd say that's one of the probably the most important rule to spark positive behavior change. Make the behavior easier to do, if you're struggling to make change.
Yeah, and just in case, I think it's worth pointing out, John, if people perhaps skim chapter 12 and see your Me Power wish list, we've got quite an impressive start to the day in terms of physical exercise, running, and then some core work and stretching. That's your physical routine, and that's because you've developed that over time, and it works for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. These are not just
You're not asking people to suddenly start training for the Olympics.
No. These are neurons in my brain, as all habits are, good and bad, that have developed over a long period of time. Right now, actually, I've hurt my calf, so I can't actually run. So I've been walking in the morning, trying to run a little bit. So yeah, it's again, rather than do nothing, I'm still trying to go out and do something. So yeah, all these things have built up over time, and that's the key. Once you build a habit, it becomes pretty automatic. So you can then build the next one on top of that. But I'm going on holiday in a few weeks, and then when I come back, some of these habits have been interrupted. So I'm going to have to consciously reactivate them again. And that's always the number one list on my priorities, to make sure that I nail my own best habits. Because if I can do that, then the next item on the list and the next one of my priorities are going to be easier to deliver on.
Yeah, well, I'm sure anyone listening to this podcast and who's read chapter 12 and who's listened to chapter 12 will now understand the importance of building their own Me Power wish list and starting the journey of building new helpful habits one tiny step at a time. Jon, thanks for your time on this podcast. It's been another fascinating one. Just a message to everyone listening, please don't forget to like us, to subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. By all means, leave a comment, and a 5-star review would, of course, be fantastic. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Jon, anything you'd like to say in closing?
I would just say, if you haven't already, complete the 8-brain test in chapter 12. Pick an area to work on and just start to work on it. And you will, if you put the energy into it, the effort into it, you will make some progress. And then make a note in a month's time to come back to it again. And if you have the T plan going as well, and maybe a 3-to-1 reflection, you're starting to build up a really nice foundational set of behaviors. And as we go into further chapters in the book, and we introduce further tools, and you can build on that more and more. So the key is to do something so that you can start to not just know how to begin building better habits, but start doing it. And remember, you're only ever one habit away.
Thanks for listening. Remember, if you want to get your business off to a great start in January, get in touch to discuss how our Habit Mechanic keynotes or workshops can equip your people with practical skills that help them build super habits in 5 minutes. Or if you want to earn $100,000 a year working part-time by launching your own coaching business, we guarantee to help you do that in just 13 hours. Get in touch with us today to learn more about becoming a certified habit mechanic coach who can transform people's lives and is recognized as a world leader in the field. For more details, contact us via the website. The link is in the podcast notes. Or if you want to feel better and do better every day, download the Habit Mechanic University app from your app store. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe
and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.